This episode of Buy Black Podcast is brought to you by Haptic Consulting. Haptic Consulting specializes in maximizing the value your organization gets from its training budget by focusing on business needs, eliminating unnecessary training development, and helping you build a culture of engagement from the executive level down. Visit www.hapticconsulting.com to learn how I can help you develop better leaders, happier employees, and a more profitable company culture. Or you can email me at gerald@hapticconsulting.com. That's GERALD@hapticconsulting.com. Now let's get into the show.
So I cannot tell you how many times I've been like, oh, let me go back and get that grant. And I'm on the wrong calendar year. I'm on the odd when I should be on the even, or I just missed the window again. So I'm telling this to you, and I'm telling it to myself. Put it on your calendar now. So then, you won't miss those windows of opportunity. Give yourself enough time to, write those grants and do what it is that you need to do. But again, these are individual grants, so they're not going to make you, go through all the stress and strain of, oh no, I need a grant writer and I need this and that. They don't even want all that. They want just like a visual or a video of what it is that you do, when you got started and, a basic application.
Buy Black Podcast, episode 48. Use individual artist grants to fund your creative business with Stephanie R. Bridges. Welcome to Buy Black, the only podcast dedicated to helping you find, connect with, and support Black-owned businesses. We're on a mission to bring consumers and business owners together to ignite the global Black economy. I'm your host, Gerald Jones, and if you're a Black business owner or a socially conscious consumer, you've joined the right community. Ready? Let's get to work. Hey everybody, welcome back to Buy Black, your only podcast dedicated to helping you find and connect with Black-owned businesses. Today's episode is going to be an excellent conversation that I had with Miss Stephanie R. Bridges. To give you guys a little bit of background, a few episodes ago, we connected with Joy Lynn M. Ross. You remember she is the blessed-selling author who goes by E.N. Joy. And after we got done with that podcast, Joy Lynn connected me with Stephanie. And Stephanie not only is an author in her own right, but she also is very passionate about supporting Black businesses. And she also is going to be going to the Act Like an Author, Think Like a Business conference that Joy Lynn is putting on later on this year. So the really cool, interesting thing about Stephanie that we're going to talk about today is the fact that she actually got a grant to pay for her to go to the conference later on this year. And because of that, Joy Lynn has actually invited her to come and speak while she's at the conference to talk about how creatives and authors and the like can get grant money to pay for many of the things that go along with creating art. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show. But we also spend a lot of this show talking about just what it really means to support Black businesses. I'm telling you, it was like sitting down and talking to a friend that I've been with for, 20 or 30 years. And so eventually we get to the grant writing. I know that that's the name of the episode, but I just wanted to let you guys know up front. We get there, but we get there eventually because we have some other really great conversation before that that's tied around how we really support the community and what it means to build a business and to support those businesses and how we go about that process. So it's definitely a full conversation you guys want to have. You want to be here for all of it. I can guarantee you that. This was probably one of the most fun conversations that I've had on the show. And to illustrate that, when you guys come back next week for episode number 49, guess what? It's me and Stephanie again. And in that one, we'll be talking about her books. It was a conversation so nice we had to have it twice. So I'm not going to waste too much of our time with the intro. One thing I want to give you guys before we do jump into the show, there are a lot of changes coming for this podcast, for the entire project. I'm not ready to take anything public yet, but you guys just be watching for that episode number 50. All right. A lot of stuff changing coming around that time. So I'm excited about it. I want you guys to be excited about it. Stay tuned. All right, that's enough of me. Let's jump into the show with Stephanie. Hey everybody, welcome back to Buy Black, your only podcast dedicated to helping you find and connect with Black-owned businesses. And today, this is episode number 48 of Buy Black, Build the New Black Wall Street, and I'm bringing you a very special interview with Miss Stephanie Bridges. Stephanie, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be a part of the Buy Black podcast. I love what you are doing. Let's do great things together.
Oh yeah, we definitely will. So everybody out in the audience, Stephanie was actually connected to me by the guest for episode number 45, Joy Lynn M. Ross. If you remember, Joy Lynn is putting on the Act Like an Author, Think Like a Business conference. And shortly after we concluded her episode, she shot me an email with Stephanie and said, hey, this is a person who you need to connect with, and you guys are going to create beautiful music together. So Stephanie is an author in her own right. She writes children's books for teenagers, and she also has an adult-focused book of poetry. And on top of those things, she is also very passionate about supporting Black-owned businesses. And so I want to start the conversation we're going to have today there. You know, what is it that is your number one motivator, and how do you go about that business of just, you know, actively taking care of our Black businesses where you can?
Definitely. So this definitely came about, from birth. My father he actually retired from TWA, that's Trans World Airlines, for all of you who are too young to remember. But that used to be an airline, here in the U.S. But during that whole time that he worked there, he always had something going on the side. So, he owned his own barbershop. He sold jewelry. He sold hair supplies. He did hair in the basement, and he was always very active, in Black power movements, and definitely an activist. So, in the 60s, he was all about Black love, Black empowerment, and in our home, and then in his home, because my parents did separate when I was young. But he always had lots of Afrocentric art and artifacts and different things like that. So I always grew up appreciating and celebrating Blackness and Africanness, and that I was going to say that part of me, but it is who I am, my complete being. So I'm really appreciative of him for just making that a natural part of, who my sister and I are. And, as you grow up and, you get involved with, friends and just society and culture in general, sometimes you move away from those things. And, I was just like, pretty much like everybody else, I like, rap and hip hop music and, wanted to, wear the designs of the day. But there was nothing, in me, in my heart that said, oh, I really, need to focus on wearing Black designers. Like at the time, there was FUBU and there was Kanai and different things like that. But that kind of all went over my head. And it wasn't until I got older and I started being in business for myself, as a writer, I would love to say, oh, I'm an artist, I'm a creative. But at some point in time, we have to realize and recognize, that we are business owners as well. And if we want to do this, especially on a professional level, and dedicate some part of ourselves, we have to be in business. And I just felt it was so important, for me to also celebrate, uplift, and support other Black businesses. And then also, it's a way of saying who you are. I know we discussed before, we've always known in the Black community all the all the discrepancies and, things that happen in the Black community in terms of, systematic organizations and institutions, the police and everything else. But, recently we've seen a lot, by the way of being online and social media. And it's just important to take some type of stand. And everything that we do as a Black community that's for the Black community, whether it's just growing our hair, the way that it comes out of our head, is seen as a political statement. So buying Black is also a political statement. And I support, people going out to march. I support people pursuing education and wanting to be a part of some of those systems, whether it be the police force or a government official, in order to try to change things. But, for me, buying Black and supporting Black-owned businesses and being a part of, the reciprocal growth of the community is, where my heart lies. So I was like, it's time to get out here and get it done.
I love it. I love it. So let me ask, for you, because this is your chosen path, what is it about making the effort to support Black businesses and buy Black that is more attractive to you, or that you feel like is going to be more impactful for you, as opposed to going out and marching or protesting, just for you personally?
Okay, for me personally, I think there is a definite economic divide. And I think we've spent a lot of time, trying to be a part of something that, even though it was created by us, it wasn't created for us. So the economy, as the way, in the way that it stands, the American dream, the United States of America, it was built, on our blood, sweat, and tears. And a lot of our innovation, I think a lot of times we think in terms of, slavery and the work, and even the prisons and everything, and the work that we're doing for free. But even a lot of the, the mental capacity and the innovations, a lot of that was ours as well. It's just not told. It's just been kept a secret. A lot of that money, recently I saw something about them, giving the African American farmers fake seed in order to try to take their land. But we own land. We had farms. We had inventions, and all of those things were taken away from us lawfully. When you think in terms of Black Wall Street, it was burned down lawfully. That was under the law. It was legal. So we've spent a great deal of time trying to be a part of an economy and a system that is never going to recognize us as equal. They're always just going to see us as, like something, oh, that's really nice what you got there. Here, let me have it. So we have to start separating ourselves in terms of our dollars. That is one thing that they do understand, that they do recognize. So not only will it help us to build our wealth and, help us to grow economically. And the other thing that we have going for ourselves now that in the past our ancestors didn't is oftentimes we didn't have the opportunity to move around or do business around the world. So we were very limited in that sense. But now we do have an opportunity to build some wealth within the community, to operate with other peoples in other nations and other lands, and even, to leave the United States of America. It's not a situation of, if you don't like it here, you should leave. No, we're more American than the Americans. We're more, probably the Native Americans have more rights to this nation than what we do. So that's not the question there. However, we know by understanding the past, when we do, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, like we're told, that they find a way to infiltrate. So we have a little bit more of an opportunity to protect our earnings protect our wealth than we did in the past, but they're not going to come out and support and celebrate and invest in us. You know, when banks see us coming, they see it as a way, you know, to take more out of our community and not put more into our community. And that's just historical facts. So we have to take on the mindset of we all we got, because we all we got. And, you know, by working together and supporting one another and building, you know, our businesses that way, you know, we can grow. The other part that is so important to me, and I don't know how political this is, but, you know, in a sense, it kind of is that when I support Black-owned businesses and I purchase art, or I purchase jewelry or hair care supplies or what have you, when I walk outside of my house, I'm walking with a force. You know, I'm leading, you know, with an army. It's not just me by myself. You know, whether it's a ring that I'm wearing or a bracelet that I'm wearing or a T-shirt that I'm wearing, you know, I'm not just representing who I am in the culture, but the culture is representing me. And so there's a sense of camaraderie, a sense of togetherness, a sense of, you know, that I'm not alone. So I think when you start to realize and recognize that, you know, it's just a feel-good feeling to be a part of the village at all times. You know, when you're in your home, you want to be surrounded by the village. When you walk out, you want to have the village. So, you know, that's important to me as well.
I love that. That is, it's probably the most thorough explanation of that thought process that I've heard. So let me ask you, what is your process? We struggle, even those of us who are actively looking to buy Black, support Black-owned businesses. You know, we don't always have them nearby. I live in Omaha, Nebraska,
right?
And it is a very, very it's a very densely populated, blonde and blue-eyed area, and and the Black community is all kind of shoved up into the northeast part of the city, and there's not a lot of Black-owned businesses where the Black community lives. So how do you do it? What is your process for finding these businesses that you can support? Because it has been historically so hard for us to do that over the last 50 years because everything has either been taken away, shut down, or burned to the ground. Yes. So how do you do it?
Definitely. So I think it's a process. I'm not going to give you one easy answer or like, oh, just go to www. But there's resources out there. So part of it is finding, researching, and getting to those resources. And the other part of it is training your brain to recognize, to take note when you do hear something. So just to give you an example, when you go to Buy Black, you have a lot of resources there. And one thing that you have, you know, you have a list of places where you can actually go and shop. So that's an excellent thing to do, to go through those different lists and find those different places. And then you have some resources where, you know, people are telling you about local areas and different things like that. Now, one thing that I saw on your website, and I saw this today, was something for Black banks. And I'm in Columbus, Ohio. So I'm like, let me take a look at this, because there's no Black banks in Columbus, Ohio. So I took a look at it again, because I've looked at it before. I took a look at it again. And One United is probably the largest Black-owned bank. And they don't have a branch or anything in Columbus, Ohio. However, they had you have the color codings of, you know, what bank is where. Is it an ATM or is it something like that? So I did see where there's some aspect of the bank locally. Now, of course, the bank is available online too. So this not only gives you an insight of something that you can do, but this gives you an insight of the process. Because, of course, you know, you can online bank. And since I've, you know, just gave this big rah-rah speech about buying black and pro-black and loving black, why haven't I moved some of my money or all of my money and just, did the online banking? Because like I said, it's a process. So when I'm thinking in terms of my money, I'm thinking, it would feel so much better if, there was something local. I could go check them out. I can kind of, see how things are done. But I think I'm definitely going to move forward with figuring out, the online aspect of it. But where is it, the ATM or what have you, where is it in Columbus, Ohio, that even if it's this one spot, that I can go to. The other thing that I did is I followed them on Instagram. So that's part of my process is when I see something that is of interest or I see something that is Black owned, I make note of it, whether it's favoriting the page, whether it's visiting the website, whether it's following them on Instagram. I try to follow everybody. I look for their social media. So if you have Facebook, a lot of times businesses will have Facebook pages, Instagram pages, Twitter accounts, whatever is most comfortable for you. Go ahead and tap into that, follow that entity that way. And that way, it kind of is something that is in the back of your mind. So One United Bank is nothing new. I kind of saw the bank Black movement in my peripheral. A lot of Atlanta celebrities were, of big support, a couple years back. But at that time, I didn't move forward. But that didn't mean I would never move forward. Because, again, it's a process. And then seeing this, again, on your site where you have curated, different websites and different things for people to take a look at, that's so important. I just want to take a moment to just say how excited I am that you have taken out the time. You guys do not understand how much time, how much energy, how much effort it takes, not just to look up stuff for yourself, but to make it available for other people, to put it there as a resource so that other people can access it. And this isn't something that, every time, it could be if it's affiliate links, but, every time I go on, Gerald is making money from it, or that I'm spending money. Like, I don't have to spend money to go to buy Black. I don't have to spend money to listen to the podcast. I don't have to spend money to find these resources. So that's one thing that you have to do is actually make some effort and say, okay, this looks interesting. That doesn't look interesting. Well, why don't I follow them? Why don't I, favorite the page? So then, around Christmas time or birthday time or whenever you decide to move forward, you're able to do so. And it's training your mind to do so as well. The other part of that is just when you see something, make note of it. So I follow Buy Black now that I'm hip to it. So amen to that. I follow I follow We Buy Black. They're actually having their first annual convention in Atlanta this year in the month of November. I follow Your Black World. That's Dr. Boyce Watkins, and they're having their All Black National Convention in Philadelphia this year in late September. And I follow Official Black Wall Street. So with me following those resources, there are different things that will come up, that will pop up, that I will see on my social media. And one thing that recently came through with Your Black World is live alkaline water. Now, that's something that's now available in Walmart. So one of the other things that I do is, as much as I try to buy Black, there's like certain stores I'll try not to shop at. And really, it's really difficult, but Walmart is my main one. So I can count the times I've been in a Walmart, for the last 2-3 years. I used to frequent them, but now I might go once a year because, Walmart, sometimes you just, but now I might go once a year. So I was excited to see that the Live alkaline water is now in Walmart. And I was like, okay, so let me take a look. I actually listened, and this is a Black-owned business. So I listened to, the report, and, they told how the gentleman who owns the company, he worked with another young lady, another Black woman, and they got into 2 stores in Walmart in Florida. So initially when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, so they're in Walmart. They're everywhere. Woo-hoo. And then it said, but you can get it online. So I went to Walmart's website, and I couldn't find it online, but you can go to livealkalinewater.com. They have their own website, and you can get gallons of water there. You can purchase 4 gallons of water for $20. So that's $5 a gallon. And I'm glad it's $5 a gallon because that's one of the points that I want to bring up. Of course, if you go to your local grocery store, you can get a gallon of water for, far less expensive. I'm sure the fact that it's alkaline, has something to do with it. The properties are much better for us, and I do plan on purchasing. But the other part of that is that this is a small Black-owned business. Now, I don't care if you're a Black-owned business, a white-owned business, an Asian-owned business. When you're just starting out, you don't have, manufacturing plants in China. You don't have major distribution contracts, and you're not able to ship. So even the sense of, oh, well, they're in Walmart. That's huge distribution. Well, there are 2 Walmarts in Florida. So this is still a very small business. And now is the time, if we want the price points to go down with, some of our businesses or different things like that, we have to support them. We have to, make sure that we're utilizing our dollars for our businesses. And even if the price never comes down, like we talked about, our money is political. When we say, okay, I'm not going to give my money to the Kroger brand, and the Kroger brand is used to getting your money, and we don't ever research, we don't ever look into what other things they support that or don't support that might be harmful for our community, they, start to take a look at that. They're like, okay, so, the money that we were receiving is now going to this Black-owned business. So I know that's a lot to say, but even when you're going to a place like Walmart or a place like your local grocer, there are oftentimes Black-owned businesses in those places as well. I know, and I was going to look this up, but I didn't. But there's a lingerie company that caters to people of color that also got into Walmart. Now, I don't know if that was just a couple of local stores or if that's nationwide or what have you. But that's one of the things that I do. I just take note. Yeah, I take note whenever I hear something.
I love it. And so I like that thought process because a lot of times when we think about supporting Black-owned businesses, it's like, well, I've got to go find their storefront. We don't so much think about that a lot of these businesses may be supplying some of the larger chains that we already go to. Mm-hmm. And so even in just the selections that we make when we're in the Walmart or the Target or somewhere like that can also help us support Black-owned businesses. So I like that viewpoint. Yeah. There was something you said, you talked about the pricing and helping get the price go down. So before we move into the next segment, I just wanted to touch on that real quick and that frustration that we have of, well, why is your stuff so high and this, that, and the other, and us needing to understand the whole concept of economies of scale and the fact that, our businesses a lot of times start off underfunded, either hard to get loans, hard to get investors. They just don't have the resources to go out and buy all the equipment and the space that is needed in order to do mass production. So whenever you do small runs of production of something, it costs more, which means the initial the customer price point has to cost more. But the more we support and the more money that we are feeding into that business, the more that they can grow. When they grow, they can get more equipment, they can get bigger spaces, they can actually produce larger runs of their product, which means that the cost per run is less, which means that the cost to the customer is less, and that price gets driven down, which is what you were talking about, Stephanie, how we get that price driven down. But it's on us to support when the business is new, so that eventually they make it to the point where they can scale and the price does come down, and it gets into every Walmart across the nation because they've got the inventory to be able to supply that. That's all on us. And I know that's what you were saying. I get excited about the nerdy, business terms and supply chain terms and economies of scale and all that stuff. I get into it. So you kind of push one of my buttons there.
Yeah. So I'm so glad that you added that clarity, to what it was that I was saying and, said it so eloquently. But it's so true. Another thing that comes up as far as Black businesses, when they do start to scale up and get that notoriety, oftentimes they get bought out. And so a lot of people in the Black community, they kind of feel upset, like, oh, well, we supported you. We helped build the brand, especially like in the hair care industry. We don't buy nothing else. We want to buy some products and get our hair done from, people that look like us. But people will, get upset, when they fail. But I personally, I don't feel like one way or the other. Like I'm not 100% upset or like, oh, everybody should fail. That should be the goal. But when people do fail, it doesn't upset me and it doesn't make me feel like, oh, okay, well, I shouldn't support that brand anymore because now it's no longer Black owned. And the reason why is because if you are a business owner, you know how much work it takes. You know that even though, you're putting in this work and you're putting in this effort, it might not be something that you can sustain. The business might outgrow you, and what you're able to do, it might be extremely stressful, towards you. It might be something that you can continue to do, but it's stressful. And you might want to enjoy, some of those millions that, you've made. And I don't have an issue with that. And I don't think we should stop supporting those businesses because we need to, that needs to be an option, for people in business. So we need to have the option of, giving our businesses to our children and our children's children and so on and so forth. But we also need to have the option of being able to sell. So maybe we didn't leave our children the business. Maybe we, left our children, a lump sum. Maybe we left them, houses and land. Maybe, it wasn't necessarily the business that changed hands, but there's still a transference of wealth, within the community. So I don't think everybody understands just how hard, people work in order to build. You're building in a situation where oftentimes everybody's against you. White people don't want to see you succeed. Black people don't want to see you succeed. So for you to be able to push through, yes, it is amazing for those people, like myself and those other people who were like, oh, we're supporters, because there's a group of us out there we support, and that's what we do. But for us that are supporters, we can't take that personal, when they decide to do something different. I know the gentleman of Shea Moisture, he sold his business, but, now he bought back, Essence magazine. So that's the other thing. We don't know where his heart or where his passion is. He might have had it in him to do this one thing, but his overarching dream, what his lifelong goal was to do something else. So we have to allow our people, that freedom, in order to build a business, grow a business, sell a business, leave a business to our children, what have you. So
you are speaking. You're speaking to me. I'm telling you, all my little nerd senses are coming up. It's like she's speaking my language. It's so unfair, right? If we think about things empathetically, it is so very unfair for a community to demand of its entrepreneurs that they marry themselves to one business for their entire lifetimes. It's so unfair because all of that work you were talking about, that's really the goal of building a business. The goal of building a business is to sell it.
Say that.
No matter how you do that, right? Because if you think about it, all right, there's a couple of ways that happens. If I build a business up to the point where another larger business says, what you've got is valuable to me, I will pay you money for ownership of this business, now it's mine, then all that work I just put in, I just took a huge lump sum, it went right into my pocket, and I can put that towards another business, I can put it towards the real estate you were talking about, I can put it towards whatever, but I get to cash out of all that hard work I did. Or the other side of that is if I build a business all the way up to the point where it's large enough as a corporation that it can do an IPO, the initial public offering. All an IPO is selling your business. It's just now you're selling it to the public instead of selling it to another business. And that same thing happens. Those initial shareholders, they become ridiculously wealthy from selling out. But in this case, you're selling out to millions of stockholders as opposed to selling out to, or thousands of stockholders maybe, instead of selling out to another business. But in any case, when somebody starts a business, the goal is to sell that business in one way, shape, or form. And when we go and say, no, that's ours. You built that for us. That's ours. You better not ever sell it or we hate you. It's like there's no other entrepreneur on the earth that is being held to that account. And it is a complete misunderstanding of how business works and what a good thing it is for our community when we see a Black-owned business go to IPO or get sold to a larger company. That is excellent because that person is now free to go and start maybe 2 or 3 other projects with the resources they just captured from doing that business. They can go out and teach. They can go out and hold conferences. They can go out and consult. They can teach us how to get where they got. But until we get enough people going through that whole process to be able to come back and say, hey, here's how you get a business to the point of selling it or to the point of an IPO, that we've got to have that knowledge in our community too, because we don't want to just get stuck in a business our whole lives that's kind of treading water and we don't know what to do with it. I got this thing. It's doing pretty good. I don't know what to do next. We got to have people who've been through that process.
But the other part of that is we kind of understand it a little bit better. Like in the case of Nas, we've been hearing about him being an investor in different businesses, and then those businesses getting sold for millions and millions of dollars, and being excited about that because we hear, oh, okay, so Nas, we recognize him as a celebrity, and we see he's doing well as far as his business acumen is concerned, and that is so important. Like everything that you're saying, which you're using the terms and clarifying the information. We need that information. As a business owner myself, people will talk about, well, have you thought about investors or different, like a lot of that goes over my head. Like I don't completely, understand in the sense of, well, if they invest, and that's something else I have to learn because again, everything I do, I pretty much do it all on my own. So there's a huge learning curve of, well, then if they invest and I have to figure out how much I need to pay them back, and then if it's sold, and then who owns the rights, and this and that and that and this. So we're not even putting ourselves in a space where, when we are doing business and we start to understand things, that we're even able to move and shape and shift like other communities are. So to be open to embracing, the sale of businesses to investors in our business and different things like that, so that we can move on a whole nother level. Because, you know, that's what we see, like in the situation of a Nas, or even like in the situation of Dame Dash, where you can see where things maybe didn't go as well. But it's because on both sides, you know, you have a black man who's saying, okay, I'm going to take the word of another black man, and then not fully moving in the space the way that we have to. Because maybe, you know, in the streets or maybe in the music studio, you know, that was enough. Things, you know, worked out in that manner. But when you come into a situation as an investor, you know, you need to start signing things on the dotted line, and you really need a full understanding of business and how it works. So I appreciate the fact of having someone like you. You know, you're going to make me call you afterwards. You know, that to share information, you know, that is so important, not just to support Black-owned businesses and start Black-owned businesses. Please start a business. Get your children starting businesses. I want to mention something about kids starting businesses too. But learn about business. A lot of people start businesses because their mama had a recipe, or because or you're like me, you're a creative, you're a painter, you're a dancer or something like that. So you find yourself in a business space, but really learn the business of business. And that's something that Joy Lynn M. Ross, that's something that she preaches about, being literary architects and not just saying, oh, yeah, I'm a writer. Well, what's writing going to do for you financially? You know? Mm-hmm. So I really love that. But to go back quickly about children starting businesses, one of the things that's huge, because we talked about, you know, as African Americans, really, you know, sometimes you don't have a big cheerleading section. For Black children, things are a little bit better, because when you see, you know, the young Black woman or the young Black man, I know like there's Mo's Bows. That's a young Black man who started the bow tie business, and he might be in his late teens or something now. I'm not sure. But, you know, contracts with the NFL, contracts with the NBA, different things like that, because we get excited. Black people get excited when they see youth. Okay. And then also other people aren't as intimidated when they see youth. I don't know the name of the business or the young lady, but there's the young lady who did the lemonade business that's now in like Trader Joe's and different things like that. So if you're, education is great, and I'm a parent of 4, so it's hard for me to talk to my kids in a manner that focuses more on business than on education, because I'm a parent and because that's the way my brain has been wired. But truth be told, we really to get our children starting businesses. They have a passion. They have goals, and they need us to support their passions and their goals, and stop telling them that, oh, that's stupid, or, oh, you'll never, you know, make any money doing that, or, oh, if you want to get ahead, you have to go to school and get this degree or get that degree in order to make it in life. We need to start supporting our children when they're young, because they'll be so much further ahead of us. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They won't have to have these conversations that we're having right now. Oh, am I leaving the Black community if I fail? You know what I mean? They won't even be thinking in terms of that. They'll be so much smarter and so much more capable. But it's important just to get them started now, get them started early in business. And another thing that a lot of times we do is, as parents, we want to see our children struggle. Like we have that work hard mentality. Like we'd rather see our youth, our young people working hard, because that's what I had to do, instead of not working hard.
Working smart.
Working smart.
Yeah.
Being able to, use their minds in order to do something, be able to innovate, be able to invent, be able to create, be able to own something. We'd rather see them go out and get a job and work hard, you know? So So, okay, I'm
So
done.
real quick, no. Everything you're saying is so perfect. So especially on this particular conversation about kids and business. So maybe a couple of weeks ago, I finally read The Miseducation of the Negro. Have you read
Mm-hmm.
that book?
I have not. I have not. Mm.
It is extremely powerful. It was written in, I think, 1933. But specifically on this topic, the author talks about the difference between how black people are educated and how white people are educated. And this was almost 100 years ago now, but it's the
Mm-hmm.
same today. And he specifically talked about the fact that, you know, he was in school. I think he went to Harvard or one of the other Ivies, and he's in school with these young white kids who are majoring in subjects that are tied to the businesses that their parents are in.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about the fact that, when we have black kids who come up, and let's say your mom she was the help, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all she did was raise other people's kids and do their laundry and clean their stuff for them her entire life. That child tries to go as far away from that as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But in another community, if there was a white kid whose mom was in that exact same boat, that kid went to school for, chemistry, and then would go back and start a laundry business,
Mm-hmm.
a commercial laundry business with the information that they learned in this chemistry degree, take the experience that the parent had in the laundry business, and then build a laundry cleaning service empire and become ridiculously wealthy.
Yes.
Or the idea of, my dad was a mechanic his entire life. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
school because I want to be a lawyer. No, 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 no. On the other side of this, that kid would go to school and they would become a mechanical engineer. And then they would come back and take the experience that the father had and the education that they have, and they would start some type of engineering firm and become ridiculously wealthy. And this miseducation of the Negro, of, what your parents did is beneath their station. You're going to do something better and different. You're not going to be like them. And we're leaving that 30, 40, 50 years of experience in history,
Mm-hmm.
where the experience that parent had in working in an industry can be tied with the knowledge that the child gets from their education on how to build that industry. And you put those things together, and now you have an instrument for building a successful business and building wealth for a family. And that whole idea of the miseducation being that we are taught that we've got to go to school for however many years so we can become a doctor, we can become a lawyer, we can do all of these professional things that, at least at the time when the book was written, that we were going to be locked out of anyway. It's like, oh,
Right.
you're a doctor? Well, you're a black doctor. So you're not getting a job anyway. You're a
Right.
lawyer. Oh, well, you're a black lawyer. So you're
Mm-hmm. We
not
got
going to
these
get any
businesses
work
a lot.
anyway. So it's like we were trying to fit into a professional system that was never meant for us, like you said before, where what we really should have been doing is saying, what did my parents do? What do they know? What is their expertise in? And what
Mm-hmm.
education, if I'm going to go get it, can I get that I can use their expertise and my education to create a business that is going to make our family wealthy for years? And we can do it that way. We can do it the way you talked about, where we just encourage our children to follow their passions and start businesses and learning it. But in any
Mm-hmm.
case, that miseducation has continued all the way up to 2018. And we have to get ourselves out of that mindset. We have to value the things that our parents did, the knowledge and experience our parents have, and we have to build on that as a family, as opposed to saying,
Yes.
let me go do something different, because we're just constantly creating all these little pockets of knowledge that don't really feed into each other, where we could be creating generations of knowledge about running a business or an industry, and then we become wealthy and powerful.
Mhm. Yes, I mean, I definitely agree that it's a familial effort, it's a community effort, it's something that, you continue on and you work together to do, versus just each generation starting from zero. We have so many generations where you just, all right, you start from zero, go. You know what I mean? There's no
figure it out.
Yeah, work hard, figure it out. Whether it's going to school, whether it's going to school and getting in mountains of debt. Whether it's just working hard and jobs don't even pay enough. They don't even pay a living wage. That's another thing. The living wage hasn't increased for 20 years, so we're always starting from zero. But, whether you choose to, whatever way you choose to do it, don't look at your child starting from zero as a good thing. It's not. It's not. So.
Absolutely. So I want to back up real quick and all right, so for everybody listening and for you, Stephanie, I'm about to do a time jump. All right, so check this out.
Okay.
So this episode that we are recording is episode 48. It's going to be coming out the Monday after next, which will be that's going to be Monday the 23rd, which means right now, if you're listening to this show, it's probably Monday the 23rd or after, which means that you probably already heard episode 47, which came out Monday the 16th. But today is the 14th, which means that it's not out yet. So I'm about to talk about something that's not out yet as if it was already out, because I need to share this information with Stephanie, but she can't get to it yet because it's not produced yet, but it will be by the time you're listening to this. So just, don't get confused. All right. But so I just recorded an episode yesterday with a young man named Josh Bunch. All right. So his episode is coming out this coming Monday, which is the 16th. He is a 21-year-old student at New York University. He plays basketball there. He plays track there. He's also the co-founder of a company called Going Outro, and they have an app called Outro, and it's in the intent of that app is to be able to rate bars and clubs and locations for safety and vibe and things like that, intended for women, people of color, LGBTQ community people to know where they can go and be safe and have fun. I said all of that to say this. A huge part of what we talk about in Josh's show is how they got funding, the venture capital process, what venture capital firms are, how they select businesses, what their purpose is when it comes to investing money, all of that stuff that you were saying earlier that you want to know about. So if you listen to the episode that's going to come out in 2 days, but by the time this episode is out for everybody else, it came out last week. You'll hear a lot of great information from a young man who has been through the venture capital and funding process, getting investors and everything like that. So, I know that'll give you a lot of that insight you were saying that you want to know, about that process.
Yes, definitely. And I'm so glad you brought that up. It also speaks back to what I said, about younger generations, our youth. So he's 21 years old, and this is something that for me is a little more foreign, but for him, it's a little more, natural because, he's living in the age of computers and apps and, different things like that, and social media, and seeing, the buy and sell of all these, apps. And this is stuff like, I'm good, grown and old, like, I can remember when computers came out. So that's why it's so important for us to get our young people, starting businesses and thinking in these terms, because it's going to be a natural flow for them. They're not going to have to learn. They're not going to have to research. They're not going to have to try to wrap their mind, because that's what happens. Okay, so I hear something and then I learn it, which takes time, but then I have to wrap my mind around it. Okay, so I get what does that exactly mean for me? So it's a whole huge process that I got to go through in order to get somewhere where somebody, they've already picked it up. I was going to snap my finger, but I can only snap with my right, and I'm holding. So, so I love that you said that, and I'm definitely going to be listening, and I hope everyone who's listening to me now, if you haven't already listened to that you will. So.
Look at that. Stephanie out here time jumping with me. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we had planned in this episode of talking about your books, your children's books and your teen books. I'm going to push that off until the next conversation we have, because we got so deep into the Black business support conversation, and I love that. I want to skip to the Act Like an Author, Think Like a Business conference. So you just mentioned that a few minutes ago with Joy Lynn, and focusing on yourself as a business, not as a writer. So let's talk a little bit about the conference. So not only are you going to attend, but you're also going to be presenting at the conference. So the first question here, why is it important to you to attend? And then kind of follow that up with what you're going to be talking about when you go to present.
Okay, wonderful. I'm so glad you asked. So definitely, not only will I be in attendance, but you can be in attendance too. So the Act Like an Author, Think Like a Business 2018 conference will be in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's going to begin on September 20th and run through the 23rd. So it'll be like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday event. So if you're a writer, if you're thinking about being a writer, if you're a publisher, an editor, if you just, maybe you don't consider yourself necessarily a writer, but you're a business owner and you would like to have a book, a product available for people to come when they come and hear you speak or want to learn more about you, definitely make arrangements to get out to this conference. It's not only going to be like a wealth of information, but it's going to be a great opportunity to network with like minds and just kind of and share your wealth of information too. So I am definitely going to be there. A little bit about my writing journey is that initially when I, started writing, I tried to go the traditional route, of getting an agent and getting my book published, but I wasn't able to move forward in that aspect. So I decided to self-publish. So this is something too. So, 20 years ago, there wasn't the same opportunity to self-publish your books, to go online, to utilize the apps and get things done. But now there is. So that's what I do. I write the book, I edit the book, I publish the book, I do the marketing for the book. And in that way, I've actually written and published 7 manuscripts that are all available on Amazon. So you definitely want to check that out. You can go to my website, stephaniebridges.com. And I was able to do that, again, through going online, researching, finding out information, following people. But I was doing everything I could that was free because I just didn't have the bank account. I didn't have the resources. So free 99 is great, but free is only going to get you to a certain point. So it came time for me to make an investment. Now, this is different than buying a bracelet. It's different, than buying a T-shirt. It's different than going out, and supporting a Black-owned business for lunch or dinner within the community. This is an investment not only in yourself, but in your business. Just how serious are you? How high are you willing to jump to get to where it is that you are wanting to go? So I follow different writers, different editors, different agents, different people who share information. And of course, I knew that when I made that investment, I wanted it to, be with an African American or someone from the diaspora. So that was taken care of. But one of the specific reasons why I chose to invest in this conference with Joy Lynn is because not only does she have a catalog of books that's out of this world that she has written. But, you know, she's self-published. She's been published traditionally. She's worked as an agent for major publishing houses. She's worked as an editor. You can follow her online and get all kinds of information for free. So I would tell everybody who is listening to me right now, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, follow Joy Lynn M. Ross, and get that information. But the other part of it, you know, of course, there's more, you know, once you pay, but the other part of it is her excitement. So sometimes people are like, oh, yeah, I got the information. I can help you. I can walk you through the process. And, you know, they might be really even keel. Or sometimes you ever go to somebody for help and they seem angry and they're like, well, did you do this? And did you do that? And you're just thinking like, wait a minute, you want me to pay you to, you know, be berated?
Yeah.
Exactly. So she is on the opposite spectrum. She is a definite cheerleader. She wants to see you win. So that is the reason why I am going to this conference, because I know not only can she help me take my business to the next level, which is needed and necessary, but I know in the process, I'm going to just be more excited, more confident about not only the work that I've done, but the work that I'm doing. So I'm super excited about the conference. You can go to path2publishing.com and find out more information. And again, that's TO publishing.com. And that's her website. And you can find out more information there. Now,
absolutely. Give me a quick second. I'm going to jump in and then I'm going to let you keep going. But I want to add on to that. For everybody who goes to sign up for the conference, having listened to this podcast, if you go in and you sign up for 2 days of the conference and you put in how you found out about the conference, if you put in Buy Black, you will get the third day for free. So Joyland has offered that to all the listeners of Buy Black podcast. Sign up for 2 days, get the third day free. It's just where it says, you know, how did you find out about this? Just say Buy Black, or you can put in my name, Gerald Jones, and you will get the third day free. So that is another cool thing that Joyland has offered for everybody. So I'm sorry, Stephanie, go ahead.
Oh, no, that is wonderful. That's super exciting. I'm so glad to hear that, because that's the thing about it. She wants people to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm excited for whoever else is going to be there, but when I tell you I'm going to get mine, I'm going to get mine. So I suggest if you can make it out, if you can come out, do this. And so so I'm going to say something. I don't know where I was supposed to be going, but let me go here real quick. The reason why I'm on this podcast is because of Joy Lynn. Okay. So I signed up, you know, for the conference. I paid my money. She was like, oh, here's an opportunity for you. The first opportunity was to be on the Black Pearl magazine, a part of that. So I have an interview on that site. And then I also have a commercial that they're going to be running on their podcast. So, and then she was like, and then have you heard of this? Another podcast is Lipstick, something else. And then she was like, oh, let me introduce you to Gerald. And when we get on this conference call, I'm going to put you out there because you're going to do a Twitter chat. So this is all because I said yes. This is all before I got to the conference. So if you're hearing my voice right now and you're like, oh, I listened to Stephanie R. Bridges, it is because of Joy Lynn M. Ross. So she is opening up opportunity after opportunity to me, for me, and I haven't even got there yet. So this is something you want to do. You want to introduce yourself to her. You want to let her know, yeah, I believe in you. Say that by becoming a part of the conference, and she's going to show you how much she believes in you. Okay? So I just wanted to say that piece of it. But, okay, so the other thing, Now we get to the good part, because this is a part about me.
Okay. Let's get to it.
You didn't know them true colors was gonna come out. So, when I signed up, I said, yes, I'm coming to the conference. I told her, I was like, you know what? I got a grant. So I got this grant, and I'm going to use this grant, to come out to your conference. And she was like, oh, well, then you can be a presenter as part of the conference. I was like, what? So not only will I be there learning, but I will also be taking the stage. And I will be there sharing information about how you can get a grant in order to go to conferences, or, if you're in business, I'm sure this has happened with you, Gerald. Someone will invite you somewhere and say, oh, we want you to come out and speak, and this is how much we pay. Now, you're in Omaha, so you ain't close to nothing.
That is so true. I drive every time I go anywhere.
Right. But if somebody's inviting you somewhere, they might want you to come out to Atlanta. Might want you to, come out.
I ain't driving to Atlanta.
Yeah, they might want you to come out to Chicago. So even though they're going to pay you a fee, to make a guest appearance, oftentimes that's not going to cover all of your travel, all of your hotel, all of your eating, and everything else. Now, when we get to another standard, we won't have that problem, because they'll, just be like, oh, we got the budget for you. But right now, our budgets might not look like that. So there's also grants where if you're invited to go out and speak or read or present, they'll actually provide you with a grant to kind of help with some of those costs that go above and beyond what your, the current budget for your appearance will pay. So let me tell y'all now, it's low-hanging fruit. What you'll want to do is you'll want to Google individual artist grants, and you can put in your city and state. So for me, I would Google individual artist grants in Columbus, Ohio. Now, that's going to give me a list of information. But after you do Columbus, Ohio, you'll want to do, or after you do your city and state, you'll want to do just your city. You'll want to do just your state. And while you're going through all that information and finding what grants are available, oftentimes they'll link you to other grants and other information. So it's a quick Google search and you can find money. Now, I'm not a grant writer. I'm not going to pretend today. I'm not a grant writer. I am not a 501c3. I'm not a nonprofit. I am one individual business owner, LLC. So that's why you want to go to the individual artist grant. And now you're probably saying, well, how am I an artist? I'm not necessarily an artist. Well, you are an artist if you create. So whether you create a podcast, whether you create a video, whether you create a book, whether you create a dance, whether you create a piece of music, if you're a creator, if you create something, then you are an artist and you will fit. So just based on my conversation with Gerald and based on a conversation I had with another young lady, I did that for Omaha, Nebraska, and I also did it for Atlanta, Georgia. And then I'll tell you Columbus, Ohio as well. So for Nebraska, there's the Nebraska Art Council, and then there's the Omaha Creative Institute. And so you want to definitely look at those two. And then for Atlanta, Georgia, there's the City of Atlanta Office of Cultural Affairs and the Georgia Council for the Arts. So those are just two that just came up right away. For me, I have the Greater Columbus Arts Council and Ohio Arts Council. So I received a $1,250 grant to go and learn something. They're like, it's out there where they're like, okay, so you're an artist, you're a creative. We know you can't do it on your own. We know it's a struggle out there. That's why, they call it starving artist, because it's real. So we're going to give you $1,250 to learn something. Now that $1,250 could be a local 1-day workshop. I mean, you would have to show why you need all that money, you know, for a 1-day local event. But if it costs that much, and sometimes people charge that much, then, you know, you have to show that. But I was able to show, you know, with the price of going to the conference, with me getting my airplane ticket, and then also the hotel, which has actually changed. So Joylyn now has packaged the conference with the hotel. So woohoo! So that's another bonus. I was able to show, you know, my need for that money and get that grant. So definitely.
So I was just gonna say, as you were talking, I opened up Google, and I Googled as you instructed, and what I found immediately with the Omaha, what's the name of it? Creative Institute. I saw there's a New American Artist grant that's unrestricted, and just an unrestricted artist grant, 2 separate grants, each one of them $3,500. And, you know, they have a limited time period. I think between May and June would have been the time this year to apply for it. But it's open to all people who create art, everything from the visual to the music to, you know, audio and video recording, which would fit podcasts like me. So, you said low hanging fruit. I mean, I Googled, and there's money just literally sitting here. So, wow.
Yes, so it is definitely out there. With the in my situation with the Ohio Arts Council, a lot of that money is for nonprofit, but there is some for for-profit businesses or for individual artists. But they have a window, like you said, they have a window of opportunity. So put that on your calendar now. If you missed it this year, put it on your calendar for next year. And oftentimes they'll have like even years are for writers and odd years are for dancers, or, you know, and they'll add a bunch of different categories there, but they'll be off even and odd years. So I cannot tell you how many times I've been like, oh, let me go back and get that grant. And I'm on the wrong calendar year. I'm on the odd when I should be on the even, or I just missed the window again. So I'm telling this to you, and I'm telling it to myself. Put it on your calendar now, so then, you know, you won't miss those windows of opportunity. Give yourself enough time to, you know, write those grants and do what it is that you need to do. But again, these are individual grants, so they're not going to make you, you know, go through all the stress and strain of, oh no, I need a grant writer and I need this and that. They don't even want all that. They want just like a visual or a video of what it is that you do, you know, when you got started, and, you know, a basic application. So get that money.
It's out there. It is out there. And that is one of those things we have to become adept at finding the money, because there is so much money that is just out here, whether it be for art, whether it be for school. I've actually got, you were talking about the resources I put on my website. There's actually a section in those links that is grant programs, grant and scholarship programs that are out there for school, for businesses and everything. So, you know, it's not always about going out and finding an investor and giving up a piece of your company for their money. Sometimes, you know, it's just about writing a good grant application and getting free money from an organization or for the government. In either case, it's dollars to get you started. So, very much appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah.
So Stephanie, what I want to do to wrap this particular episode up, and for everybody listening, we're going to do this again. We're going to have both episode 48 and 49. We're going to be talking to Stephanie, because the next episode we're going to be talking about her books and the children's books, the teen and tween books, and then her adult book of poetry. We're going to spend the whole time talking about that. But we got so into it today with supporting Black business and talking about the conference that we have run out of time. So I want to finish up by asking you just a couple of quick questions. The first one is, you know, what is the biggest challenge that you've ever faced, and how did you overcome it, or what did you learn from it?
Wow. Okay, so I think the biggest challenge that I've ever faced, and this is just going to take a whole nother turn, but I mean, it's the truth, is probably recognizing, dealing with, and embracing mental health issues. So I think I stated early on that I am a single mother of 4. And sometimes what happens when we don't realize these things, recognize these things, and then do the work that it takes in order to embrace these things, we do share those traits. We might not leave them any money, but we will leave them those mental health issues, not only because we share those genes and traits biologically, but because when you're dealing with mental illness and mental health issues, you're raising those people in that environment. So it's an environmental situation and it's a genetic situation. So I think that was huge for me, just to be able to recognize that was going on, not only with me, but, with my parents and with my children. And then meet it head on. You know what I mean? And when I say meet it head on, I'm not saying with like bravery and strength and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying meet it head on. And as far as, not giving up, not giving in, staying. Sometimes the biggest thing that you can do is stay. Don't leave us. You know what I mean? Do not leave us. Stay. And sometimes just within that staying, you have the opportunity to realize and recognize, okay, so this is something that is a part of me. It's something that I have to deal with, but it's something that I can work through, not necessarily to get through to the other side and be free of, but just to recognize and work through, this is a part of me, and it's something that might come up again, and it might happen again, but I know that if I stay, I know that if I hold on, I can make it through and I can work this out. And I can share this information, with my children, so they don't feel like, oh my goodness, I have to give up. I can't do this. There's something wrong with me. And I think that's one of the biggest things that, has been a hurdle for me, even in the sense of, and I'm not saying that, everyone who writes or everyone who's a creative or, whatever deals with issues like that. But I know for a part of me really, suffering with depression and being, wanting just to keep to myself and be very closed off. A lot of that, has to do with my writing, because that's my way of expressing myself. It took me a long time to be able to use my voice verbally. And then even in social situations, I'm not always that good at it. And if I do it, it's for a window. Okay, I'm kind of like Cinderella. I look real good at the ball. But, when the bell rings or the clock strikes, I got to go because I'm done. There's there's no more business. So, I'm
look, you can only keep that face on for so long. And then it's like, look, I got to go. I have to replenish my energy because y'all have drained it out of me.
Right. Exactly. So just realizing and recognize that that's a part of who you are, and not giving up on yourself because of that part of who you are, because it gives me the ability to sit and write. People are like, well, how are you able to do that? And you have all these books. One part of that is because I like being by myself, So, I spend a lot of time, whether you're spending time reading, and I know you're a huge reader, or you're a writer, or you're a painter, or some other creative, sometimes that alone time, that downtime, gives us the ability and space to create.
Absolutely.
So.
Wonderful. So the next question I have is, how do people get in touch with you? If somebody has more questions about grants, if they have more questions about your process for finding and supporting Black businesses, what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you? You gave us the StephanieRBridges.com website. What are the other ways that people can get in touch with you?
Okay, definitely. follow me on Instagram, please. I'm trying to, do it for the gram. So all my social media, my Instagram, my YouTube, my Twitter, my Facebook is Stephanie R. Bridges. So follow me, friend me, message me that way. And then I also have a Patreon page. So it is patreon.com/Stephanie R. Bridges. So if you're not familiar with Patreon, it's a way to support artists, support, writers, people who are creatives. Maybe it's your favorite YouTube. It's a way to support them financially. Because like when I was speaking about Buy Black earlier, that's time, that's energy, that's effort, that's resource. And we might look at it and say, oh, well, that's all free. He just put that up there. It's all good. That podcast, you know what I'm saying? You specifically, Gerald, you're just giving out to the universe. But there's, comes a time when it needs to be reciprocal, and we need to give back. So Patreon is an excellent opportunity to throw into, your favorite writer, your favorite creative, and that's also my platform for information. So I share, if you, ask any question about writing, about publishing, if I can't give you the answer, I will research the answer and I'll, talk to you on the phone and share that information, but I also put it on that platform. So if you become a part of that, you'll be able to see, everything everyone's asked in the past. You'll get those links, to whether you want to get your LLC or you want to get your MBE. That's another aspect of it. I've got my minority business enterprise for the state, the city, the county, all kind of stuff. But so you have any questions for me or you want to, talk about different things, my Patreon is a great way to do that. And that's patreon.com, and it's /Stephanie R. Bridges. And the thing about that, as I keep saying that, I'm a single mother of 4 children. So I've always been in a situation where I just haven't had it. You know what I mean? And I recognize that so well. That's one of the things I try to do in the community is do book giveaways. But you can pay $1 a month or up to $100 a month. And the reason why there's no difference or there's no stages, well, if you do, $50 a month, you get this, or if you do, because I recognize that people need to be able to do what they can to get to where they need to be. And I would never put myself out there as the end all be all. I just want to be a part of the process, a part of your path. Okay. So the word says plant the seed and God will water it. I'm just, planting the seed. I just want to be a part. If you need some assistance, if you need some help, I'm just going to do what I can. So that is how you can get in touch with me. Follow me on the gram. No, just kidding. But
love it. So all of those, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube is all Stephanie R. Bridges, and then patreon.com/Stephanie R. Bridges. That is awesome. So I just recently set up a Patreon page. I haven't got anything on it yet, but it's simple as well. Just patreon.com/buyblackpodcast. I will figure out that platform. Since everywhere you look, there's a new platform you got to try to set up and figure out. But Patreon is special because it was designed with that artist in mind, understanding that we are putting time and energy and effort into creating something for a society. And a lot of times it unless we're going out and we're just aggressively selling and marketing it, a lot of times that work and effort doesn't get reciprocated and people don't really have a way to do it. And Patreon created that way for people to support us. So it's a great platform. And I'm on your page right now and I love it. I'm going to be taking some ideas from how you got yours set up.
Yeah, you definitely. We need to talk after this. I'll share that information with you.
Absolutely. And then that brings us to the last question that I always ask on our Buy Black podcast episodes. And that question is, what is your number one piece of advice for the Buy Black community as a whole?
My number one piece of advice is just don't stop supporting. We can go and have like one bad experience where, the food wasn't good, or the customer service was bad, or you couldn't connect to somebody, and we'll throw away the whole baby, the bathtub, the water, the sink. We'll just give it all up and say, oh, well, that's why I don't support Black businesses, because blah, 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 blah. But recognize that is just a mental chain. It's a mental chain on your brain, because you have received bad customer service, not up to par product from every community, not just the Black community. So for me, one of the things I need to start doing, because I support a lot of Black businesses, specifically, let me just talk about events. So I'll do events and I'll get like somebody to bake a cake or do cupcakes or do something like that. And I'll utilize a few different people, photographers and different things like that. So sometimes I'm not 100% happy with the outcome. Now, that doesn't make me think like, oh, well, I'm not going to use another Black baker next time. I'll just, go to my local grocer. That makes me think I'm going to use a different one. But where I'm falling short is I'm not reaching out to the one that I wasn't 100% happy with and telling them why and having that constructive conversation. So I never, even though things didn't work out, I don't get upset. I don't get angry. I don't care. We're still Facebook friends. I see them. I'm like, hey. But in my mind, I'm just like, I'll never use you again. But I need to really explain and say so that they can get better. You know what I mean? Or they can explain to me what was going on so that we can all get better as a community. So somebody can help me figure out how to, get to that part of it where I'm just able to say, hey, I'm so glad that you provided the cake or you provided the dish or you came out to take the photographs. But, this is where I have an issue. And it's not to get my money back or anything like that, but just to help that business grow and kind of see what the customer may see.
Oh, absolutely. That is so crucial. And a business owner who cares, who really is trying to provide the best to the community, that's the most valuable thing is the feedback. That's what they want. And when we just kind of say, okay, well, this was a bad experience, and then we kind of go ghost on them, they're left wondering, what can I do better? What did I do wrong? And they're not able to take action on something specific to improve their business. So I think you're 100% right on that. I love that advice.
Yep.
Awesomeness. Well, hey, so this has been a great conversation, Stephanie. It was very powerful, and I love whenever I get to have a conversation on this show that I could see myself having at my grandma's house, just sitting around waiting on the food to get ready, and we just kind of hanging out and talking and just sharing some truth and some love. It was great. Anything else that you want to share with the community before we head out of here today?
I just want to say support Black businesses. And sometimes if you don't have money to support them, comment, like, share, follow. I actually wrote this down. I should have said this earlier. I'm not going to go long. But sometimes we think our supporters are more important than our fans, but they are not. And one way you can look at this is when I was younger, I was a huge Prince fan. And I loved Prince. And every time he would come to Columbus, I would go see him. But I was never a Prince supporter. My mother was a Prince supporter because she's the one who paid for the ticket. But if I wasn't a fan, that ticket wouldn't have been bought. So sometimes you can just be someone's fan. You can share their information. You can tell somebody about the book. You can tell somebody about the podcast. You can like, comment, and subscribe. I watch a lot of YouTube. And just support Black businesses.
I love it. Fans are those true believers,
Yes.
the ones who are going to be singing your praises in every audience they can get in front of. You're absolutely right. Well, that is awesome. Well, Stephanie, thanks for joining me. For those of y'all out there listening to Black Podcast episode number 48, thank you for being out there. You're going to join us again for episode 49. Stephanie and I are going to connect one more time. We're going to talk about her books. We're going to go into detail and let you guys get a inner look at the workings of some of the children's books and the teenage books, which I'm very excited about how she put those together. But no spoilers. We'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us today, guys. We are out of here.
Woohoo! Thank you.